1977, two very strange sounds were recorded underwater. Their frequency was very low, while the amplitude was extremely high. These sounds were recorded by the radar of the United States Atmospheric Administration. However, the surprising thing? The exact same sounds were recorded by other radars 5,000 kilometers away. After some careful calculations, it was estimated that the location of these sounds was in a highly remote area of the South Pacific Ocean. These sounds were generated underwater. At that time, these sounds were named the Bloop, and research began to figure out what these terrifying sounds were. Obviously, these sounds must have come from something huge, but nothing of the sort was found in this part of the ocean. For many years, it was assumed that some giant, mythical creature lived beneath the ocean in this area. However, after 2012, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration changed its stance and claimed that the sounds recorded in 1977 were generated by glacial movements, meaning the shifting of glaciers. But the truth behind it still remains a mystery. Interestingly, at the very point where these sounds were recorded, some very unique activities are taking place today. In that exact spot in the South Pacific Ocean, there is an area where no land exists for thousands of miles in all directions. This location is known as the Oceanic Pole or Point Nemo. The closest piece of land to this point? It's approximately 2,688 kilometers away, and it's Antarctica, the South Pole, on the opposite side. New Zealand is located 4,700 kilometers away. This is why Point Nemo is considered the most desolate and barren place on Earth. It's so remote that the closest humans to this point are not on land, but in space.
Astronauts aboard the International Space Station, ISS, pass over Point Nemo about 400 kilometers above,
once or twice a day. Despite being isolated, Point Nemo is not without purpose. Beneath the waters in this part of the ocean lie human-made objects, including broken satellites, spacecraft, and rocket debris. But wait, the big question is, where did satellites fall before Point Nemo was discovered? Why was it necessary to dispose of them here? And how did they bring satellites here? Welcome back to Jam TV. Point Nemo spans an area of 220 million square kilometers in the South Pacific Ocean. It is so vast that it can easily fit the largest country in the world, Russia, and still leave room for 5 other countries, including Egypt. But despite this immense area, no human population resides here. Not even sea creatures can survive under the water in this location. Research indicates that the conditions here are so challenging that it is difficult for marine life to survive. Point Nemo is located in a very remote and deep area of the South Pacific Ocean, where the water temperature is cold, and the nutrients are nearly non-existent because of the ocean currents in this area. The lack of nutrients makes survival very hard. The water here swirls in a circular motion, preventing water from other parts of the Pacific Ocean from flowing properly, which leads to a shortage of nutrients. In areas with few nutrients, plankton and other microscopic organisms, the foundation of the food chain, are scarce. The ocean depth in this area is about 3,700 meters, 1,200 feet, so sunlight can't reach this depth. Therefore, photosynthesis is impossible, and any marine life present would likely be deep-sea creatures, like squids, bioluminescent fish, and other organisms capable of surviving in extreme conditions. In 1992, a Canadian engineer discovered Point Nemo through various mathematical calculations. It was so remote that the person who discovered it has never even visited the location. 9 years later, in 2001, the Russian Space Agency used it for the first time because Point Nemo lies in international waters, meaning no country owns it. Therefore, various space agencies don't need permission to drop their space objects here. On March 23, 2001, after 15 years in orbit, the Russian space station Mir was no longer capable of staying on a mission. So, the Russian Space Agency deorbited it and dropped it at Point Nemo, after Mir. Other space agencies also found this location ideal and began using it for spacecraft disposal. Over the past 23 years, this space cemetery has grown, and today, more than 260 pieces of spacecraft debris are present at Point Nemo. Soon, even the International Space Station will be added to this list because, according to NASA, the ISS's lifespan will end by 2030. Before that, it will be decommissioned. Satellites and spacecraft are made with great precision, and despite costing millions of dollars, they aren't built to last forever, just like products with expiration dates. Space objects also have expiration dates, and once that date passes, it becomes essential to deorbit them. If not, these objects could lose control and fall to Earth in an uncontrolled manner. In 1978, Cosmos 954, a Soviet satellite, malfunctioned and lost contact with its base station. The satellite wandered uncontrollably for a while before finally falling out of orbit and crashing to Earth. The biggest threat wasn't the uncontrolled fall, but the nuclear reactor on the satellite, which powered it. Although the satellite burned up in the sky, Radioactive material spread across northern Canada. After this incident, a massive operation was launched to locate and clean up the radioactive material. Thankfully, no one was harmed, but this event showed the potential dangers of using nuclear power in satellites. In addition, in 1997, a piece of a Delta II rocket fell from the sky and landed on the shoulder of Lottie Williams, a woman walking in Oklahoma. It was a fragment of the rocket that had broken up when entering the atmosphere from miles away, although Lottie was unharmed. This event raised awareness about the risks of falling space debris. That's why space agencies prefer to drop their space objects in remote parts of the ocean. Before Point Nemo was discovered, satellites and spacecraft were dropped in the Pacific Ocean or other remote areas of land. Whenever a satellite or spacecraft needed to be deorbited, it was first removed from orbit using its thrusters. After being removed from orbit, the object continued to orbit Earth for months before gradually getting closer to the planet. Engineers calculate very carefully when and where to activate the thrusters, guiding the object towards Point Nemo. Keep in mind that in space, there is no air or pressure, so there is no friction, meaning a satellite in orbit will not leave its path without power. These objects travel at a very high speed, typically 15,000 km, and when entering the atmosphere, their temperature rises to around 3,000 degrees Celsius, causing them to burn up like a fireball. The heat melts the metal components, and in most cases, the debris turns into vapor before hitting the ground. However, occasionally, some debris may land on Earth, which can cause significant damage if it falls in a populated area. This is why space objects are aimed at the 220 million square kilometer area of Point Nemo, ensuring that humans stay safe from the potential damage. As for the name, Nemo comes from the Latin word for no one, as no humans or marine creatures live here, and it's so remote that no ships pass through this area. Vessels avoid locations where help would be impossible to reach in case of trouble. If you ever get stuck at Point Nemo, it would take 2 weeks for help to arrive by ship. Even helicopters capable of traveling the 3,000 kilometer distance, like the Sikorsky S-92, Westland A-80, and Lockheed Martin V-71, wouldn't be able to guarantee a safe return without refueling. Reaching Point Nemo and conducting underwater research is a dream for the scientific community. And who knows? In the future, we may uncover the mystery behind the sounds of 1977. We hope you enjoyed this video on Jam TV. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your love and comments are greatly appreciated. See you in the next exciting video.